It's part 2, which sucks because when it gets broken up like that, it doesn't usually get watched through all the way. I think I had to set the screen not to shut off. So even when I had it set to pause, when the screen shut off, yeah, it stopped the video. Okay, 2 things I wanted to note. On these older engines, it's a 5/16 for the throttle cable. I usually mark it with a marker so I know exactly where it was when I go to put it back. This tractor has one of those plates that protect crap from getting back in here. You have to take that off to be able to bend the cable enough. The fuel line, I was able to loosen and pull it off. If it's really hard, sometimes you have to cut it off with a knife. Over here on the starter, a lot of times, this is a 7/16. They both are. Sometimes they're 1/2 inch. A lot of times, if you go to loosen this nut, it'll turn the one in the back. So, I don't have it here, but I have a thin slotted, because it's usually a 1/2 inch, a thin slotted 1/2 inch that fits behind here when this is hooked up to stop that from turning. Because you do not want that back one turning. If it turns too much, it'll eventually twist the wires and destroy the wires inside. So I got that off. The wiring harness was simple. There was another thing I didn't have was a pair of clippers, because this thing was zip tied like this to here. Luckily I had my pocket knife, so I was able to cut the zip tie off. One other thing I noticed with this is it looks like it was also leaking here a little bit. That's because the O-ring in the dipstick sometimes goes bad. That's easy enough. Either that or it's this rubber thing that pushes down could have went bad, so it's not sealing perfectly anymore and it's letting oil up out of there. So I'm probably gonna have to swap that out with one that I hopefully have already. Otherwise that's something I have to order. Otherwise, other than taking the muffler bolts off, we're done up top. Just gotta undo the bottom nuts and then it's ready to go. On most tractors, you can't leave the muffler on. It actually looks like on this one, if I was to just leave this muffler on, it will pull up out of there with the engine. So I might just leave the muffler on for that one. I am gonna find a nut for that real quick. All right. Sorry that we have to have part 2 on this. So if you saw part 1, look for part 2. It should be the next video. It's gonna be a multi-part video. Also, for right now, the way I'm doing it is you're following along with me more than seeing exactly what I'm doing, but I'm explaining exactly what I'm doing. Eventually, I'll have something where the thing's filming and showing it while I'm doing it, but I'm explaining it the same way it would be done as if you saw it actually happening. So you just undo that the way I just explained, unhook the harness. On the newer ones, it's usually just this that goes to a 6-prong modern plug that you unhook, and it's not as much, you know, of this type of wiring, but that's still simple. This one you unhook right here. Okay. Also, normally I would drain the oil before pulling the motor, but because this one, like I said, this thing got stuck in there, the oil's staying in until I get the motor off, and then I'll drain the oil off the machine so it's not making a mess. And yeah, like I said, this one, it looks like you can get lucky and just pull the whole engine out with the muffler. Most of the time, the muffler will not pull out of there with the engine, so you do have to undo the muffler and let it sit. The newer engines, it's usually like a Torx, like a T20. It's not a 5/16 or a slotted. So these ones are a little bit easier. Okay? All right, let me get to the next step, which I will show, at least, you know, starting it. All right, I found in my hardware a nut for this. It's normally a 3/8. That one happens to be a 10 millimeter. So I don't know what that came off of, but it worked. With these, you don't want to over tighten them. They'll either just strip out the aluminum or the nut will snap. Okay, now another thing with these, with this machine, it's got this metal bracket up front, which makes it easier for me to jack up. Otherwise, normally you have to get the jack to the axle. So you gotta clear this. And then when that happens, a lot of times the jack will be kind of in your way a little bit. And like I said, normally on most machines, you do have to remove the deck. On this one, I think I might be able to get away with it, not having to remove the deck, which is nice. It's one less thing. So I'm about to get under there now. I'll show where the 4 mounting bolts are, and then the center one. Yeah. Okay. On this one, it's right at the bottom of the pulley. A lot of times they aren't right at the bottom of the pulley. There'll be a void that goes all the way up. So you have to use an extension to get up in there. That's normally a 5/8. The other 4 are normally 9/16. On this machine, they're relatively easy to get to. Like, I can feel them. Some machines, you know, they're a little bit of a pain to get to. There's something in the way under there, and you gotta like fight to get to them all. On this one, it won't be too bad, it looks like. So I'm gonna do that next. Oh, and one other thing. So I'm in the middle of doing this, right? Filming this. And of course I've got somebody texting me about something. Just like yesterday, when I was doing something else, somebody of course calls or texts me. If I wasn't around, it seems like the world would fall apart. It's always falling on my shoulders, which is crazy, you know. And then it starts to stress me out a little bit because I've always got these people on top of me about something. Whatever it is, they need something from me. So, which is a pain in the ass because, you know, I'm trying to get this done because this lawn needs to be cut because I just completed cleaning everything and I'm done. I'm ready to go. And of course, I've got somebody, you know, bugging me about something that I don't have time to deal with. So I just have to learn to ignore it sometimes, or just put my foot down and say, listen, no, I'm busy. I can't help you right now. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Because, and it happens so much. It seems like if I wasn't around, the world would stop for some people. It's like, you know, just give me a break. Let me do what I gotta do. For real. All right. Yeah, so it's fine if you use a regular jack like this, because most people aren't gonna have a specialty jack like this tractor jack that my buddy Mondo gave me right before he moved to Florida, that I can now use, that I now have room to use. It's there, it's ready to go. You just roll the front wheels up and you just pull this up and the whole thing pulls the machine up on its front wheels. Even higher than that. That should be plenty, but you know, if you've got that, awesome. If not, that's fine. You just gotta get down. So I put down something so I'm not getting all dirty. Okay. So yeah, Mondo, thanks again for that. It's finally gonna be put to use. Okay, for this center nut, you have to have an impact. You won't be able to just unscrew it. The pulley will turn. So you just get under here, get at it. Wow, look at that, there's oil coming. Is that oil coming from there? You know what that would mean? That would usually mean the seal is also bad, could be bad on this motor. Because I don't know, maybe it's just from it leaking as bad as it was, because it is pretty oily down there. But it is good practice when you pull the sump to also replace the seal. Why is this being like this? There it goes. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit oily and water. So anyway, now you step on the brake. Normally this will slide off. Occasionally they're frozen on there. If they are, you gotta try to get some penetrant up on the top of the shaft and let it run down, and hopefully it'll, you know, free. Otherwise, you gotta heat. You gotta heat up the double stack to get it off. Heat and quench. I don't see them where they're frozen often, but if it was a machine that's been sitting outside for years, it could happen. I don't think that's going to be the case with this one, considering I just had oil come down on my fingers. But as far as the mounting bolts themselves, I see one right there. One. Where's the other one? It's hard to see it. Oh, it's so dirty. Wow. One, two. Wow. Is that it? Yeah. There's three. So that means four would be right in that area somewhere. It's just loaded with crap. Pretty sure those are 9/16. Let me see. So now you step on the brake, it'll release the tension on the belt so that you can pull that down and get that belt off of there. Okay, yeah, so I stepped on the brake, which relieves tension on the drive belt, and then I was able to work the belt off the pulley, and then luckily the shaft, this double stack rather, came off pretty easy. So now I just gotta do this 4 9/16 I showed you, and then the engine's ready to come up and off, and then I can drain the oil. For these mounting bolts, luckily you don't need an impact. See, like there's one of them. I was able to get it with the regular wrench, which is good, because if I had to use the impact, the deck would have had to have come off, because the bars that hold the deck on and the deck itself would have gotten in the way on those. So there's one, that's two. It's three right there. That's it. Three. And the fourth one was hiding right here. So that arm swings, I guess when the brake's off, that would be in the way of that one. So the brake's on, it moves it out of the way so you can get to it. So I'm gonna finish taking these off, and then I'm gonna be able to lift the engine. It does look like, I would say, that oil seal needs to be changed. The good news is I think I actually have one for this engine, because I remember I had to change the sump on one that it was cracked where the drain plug goes in. So I had to put a new sump on, and I think the seal ended up still being good, so I still have that seal, thankfully, because it definitely looks like it needs an oil seal as well. Because we're talking about a 30-year-old engine here now, right? So over time, you know, like the gaskets, they get real hard, like that sump gasket, they get real hard, and then they get sucked in to the engine block, and that's what causes, you know, them to leak there. And then for a seal, you know, how long can a seal last? You know what I mean? That stuff is replaceable parts. They have to be replaced. There's no getting around that. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. The rest of the engine is built excellent, and you take care of it like I'm doing, you'll be fine. But those are just some of the things you have to change out over time. If you don't, that's what you're gonna end up with. The thing slowly leaking oil and making a big mess, or eventually a quick oil leak, and then you blow the motor because of that. That's just what happens with time. There's no way to stop gaskets from going bad when they age 3 decades. It's just, there's no way to stop that. That's just part of the, you know, that's just the way it is. You're talking about like basically paper gaskets and seals. They don't last forever. So that just goes with the territory. Otherwise, the rest of the engine's still good. So let me finish getting that off, and then we'll be good. All right. Was there something else I wanted to mention? No, but like I said, this is also why I like these Craftsmans. They're easier to work on. I didn't have to take the deck off. I didn't even have to take the muffler off. Okay, everything was pretty simple. Luckily, this starter bolt I was able to get loose just by holding this side. You know, otherwise I would have needed to go get that thinner wrench. Okay, but nothing's really fighting me, so this thing should just lift out of here once I finish getting those bolts off. But yeah, this one's definitely easier. Yeah, I was able to get to the center nut, no problem. The jack was able to go in an easy spot. That's because I happen to have this bracket on mine. The mounting bolts aren't hard to get to, so this isn't a little bit of an easier one. Some of them can be a pain in the ass. This one just doesn't happen to be. So that's why I like this machine. That's why I like these older machines. Simple to work on besides everything else. These AYP Electrolux Craftsmans, good machines. So